Is it a pangolin? It looks like a pangolin. It is a pangolin. It's a pangolin. Look at that, guys. That's ridiculous. So the lions are busy playing with the pangolin. No, man. What are the chances? That's crazy. Now, this is a super, super rare animal. And what are the chances of them playing with a pangolin? No, I don't believe it. That is ridiculous. Now, Emma, if we can, I think we should take this to a lot more people, because one is it is an incredibly special animal. Two, to see lions playing with it is even more rare. So this is something that we are not going to get very often at all, and I hope that they're not going to leave it alone now, because it's rolled into a tight ball to defend itself. This is insane. Look at that. Can you hear the claws on its scales? No, I can't believe our luck. This is amazing. Wow. Now, pangolin has got to be, besides a leopard, got to be one of my favorite animals, and not something that we get to see often at all. In fact, we very, 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 very seldom see one. No, don't leave it now, lion, because I want to show people. Oh no, the lions have left it. Mrs. Lapwing, he has been playing soccer now. Let's see if the pangolin's okay. Should be okay. When they roll up like that, they're going to be kind of together. Now, it's actually my fault, because I was so far away that I didn't notice that that's what they had found. Oh, that is ridiculous. Now, come on, little one. You're going to have to unroll at some point so that we can see you. This is insane, guys. This is a pangolin that is only the second one we've ever gotten live on camera. Their last one was with Brenty, and he had it, and it was actually inside the Kruger National Park. So this is very special. Right, now, I think we can go live anyway, Emma, even though it's not moving. Let's try and see. It will come unfolded eventually. It's not going to stay like that forever. It just probably thinks the lions are still around. So we can still go live, and we'll discuss the whole thing while the lions are still close by. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Masai Mara, and with a very, very, very special animal. We've just managed to find a pangolin, which is curled up in a very tight ball at the moment, and the reason why is because lions were actually playing with it. We didn't realize what the lions had, and we drove up and they had found this pangolin, and they were trying to chew into the pangolin, but it was too kind of curled up, and its armor plating was too tough for it, and so the lions have moved off, and we've sat with the pangolin now in the hope that it's going to start unraveling and we'll start to get it to move. Now, pangolins are an incredible animal. They're not something that we get to see very often at all. In fact, they're an animal that is incredibly rare and is the most trafficked animal in the world these days, and so they are vitally important that we actually, when we get to see one, which is, like I say, extremely rare. This is only the second time that we've managed to get a pangolin on this particular product that we produce in almost 10 years. So that gives you an idea of how rare these guys are. They are not common at all. And so the thing is that they are used for their scales. Now, let's see if it's going to move. I thought I saw it just twitch slightly. What you'll find with these guys is they roll up into this defensive ball, and they've got this long tail. So the tail is what's closest to us at the moment. It's very difficult to make out what's actually going on, but the tail is closest to us, and it rolls round and protects their head, and their head tucks in, and those hard scales will protect the soft underbelly where the legs and the face is, so that they don't get hurt when things like lions come across them, because they're not fast animals, and this does happen. Laurie, can it breathe like that? Yes. So if you have a look, it's a bit tricky to see, but in the middle of that, you'll see that there's a sort of contour, which is the tail coming round, and then there's almost like a little gap that goes down. Now that is where the actual kind of face will be, and so there's air getting in there, and they can breathe. I've luckily seen quite a few pangolins in my time, and every time they roll up like this, they can stay like this for quite a long time, particularly if lions have been around, and they will just curl up and they wait and they wait and they wait, and only when they're really sure that the lions are gone, they might even be curled up because I'm talking at the moment, and only when they're really sure that the lions have disappeared will they then unravel themselves and they'll start to move. And it is an amazing thing that I can't actually believe that we've managed to find a pangolin. When we saw the lions kind of messing around, I thought maybe they'd gotten a tortoise, but tortoises aren't out at night, and so I thought maybe, just maybe, there's a pangolin, and we have got one, which is insane. So very, very cool. Now, I forgot to introduce myself as well. My name is Tristan, and on camera I've got Manu this evening, and we are coming to you live, which means we want to hear from all of you. So remember to be able to send through your questions and comments in the comment section below, and we'll basically answer as many as we can. Giraffe Girl, what is the main diet of a pangolin? Well, pangolins will spend their time feeding mostly off things like termites, ants, where they will basically go along. They've got these 4 limbs that almost look a little bit like T-Rex when they walk. So they're on their back legs, 2 front legs, and they have long claws. And the claws, they'll then scrape at the mounds and they open it up. And then they have this tongue that is pretty much the length of their body. So it almost attaches close to their back legs, their hips, and it kind of comes out and it will go down, and it's very sticky, and it will pull out those little insects and bring them back into the mouth, and they'll then feed off that. And so that's probably why this one is out today. After the bit of rain that we've had, that's going to mean that it's going to show the soil's going to be softer, much easier to dig. I just want to move slightly so I can see if maybe we can just get a view of any lions that might be around. The lions look like they kind of moved off, unfortunately, into the distance. They got fed up of trying to kind of go towards this pangolin and try to sort of eat it. Now, they went off in that distance there. You can see there's a bit of rain that's falling. I'm going to use my spotlight just to give Manu a bit of help, but unfortunately the lions have really disappeared. The last one I saw was walking there just before we went to all of you. We just saw it disappearing over this ridge. So Graham, you're asking where in the Mara am I? Well, I'm in the Mara Triangle, basically straight below Ngama Mara, so on the northern point of the Mara Triangle. So there is our pangolin. I'm going to just move slightly so that Manu can actually get a better view, so we can show you a bit more of the details, because at the moment we're in a bit of a tricky spot with the grass. So we're just going to get Manu, I'm going to go round a little bit so that we can see a bit better. So we're a little bit higher than what the grass is, and then we should be able to see a little bit better. So yeah, Graham, we're right up in the north. There we go. Now, Crystal, are pangolins nocturnal? Not strictly. They are active more at night, so they do like to move around a lot in the evenings, because it's a lot easier for them to go and they don't get harassed and spotted as easily. But they are not strictly nocturnal. They can be seen during the day. I have seen this is now my 8th or 9th pangolin that I've seen. 2 of them were during the day. The rest have all been at night. So, funny enough, out of the pangolins that I've seen, 2 have been accosted by leopards, and this one now by lions. And you can see that armor plating. It almost looks like a pine cone that you can see here. And basically, that armor plating is like your fingernail, but incredibly thick. So if you had to go and kind of touch that, it almost feels like armor, and you can knock on it and it would be very, very hard. And that's why the lions actually leave it alone, is because their mouths just can't get a purchase on it. It's because of the hardness, and especially tonight when it's wet, it's going to be slippery, and their teeth are just going to slide on that keratin kind of armor plating. And that's why eventually they're just going to leave it alone. They're going to get frustrated and move on. Bill, so pangolins are solitary. You only see them by themselves unless, of course, they have a pup, which will mean that they have the little baby, and often the baby rides on their back, which is super cute. That little baby pangolin is the cutest little thing in the world, and they'll ride on the back of mom. But yes, solitary, otherwise you won't see them in pairs, unless, of course, you're very fortunate and you find mating pangolins, which is, well, then you must go play the lottery that night, because you're going to get very lucky. So, Stephanie, it's obviously very difficult for you to be able to get any idea of a sense of scale for these guys. And so, basically, in terms of size, if it was to unravel and to basically stand and have its tail dead straight and its nose out, it would be probably from the dashboard, so from about there to the end of the dashboard. So, they're about, what's that? Maybe my arm's length. So just over about a meter would be from the tip of the tail. Now, I actually do have a photo of one that I can show you when they're unraveled. Now, this particular species that we're seeing, I'm just trying to see where I can get a photo for you. This particular species is called a Temminck's ground pangolin, which is the species that you get here in East Africa down towards South Africa. You get them. Then in the Congo and forest areas of Africa, you will get black pangolins, tree pangolins, and so a few other different species as well. Kathy, they are ferocious. You have to be very careful. They'll attack you at the moment's notice. No, I'm joking. They will not attack a person. They are completely harmless to people. So basically, and that's what makes them a bit of why they're so threatened, is because they don't really have any defense. People come across this animal, it's got nothing that it can do other than roll into a ball like this, which works really well for predators that are natural to them. But as people, obviously, we can get through that. And so, no, they don't release any sort of gas. They don't release any sort of substance that can burn your skin or anything like that. The only thing they can do is roll in this ball. But I will tell you something, is if you pick them up and they're agitated, what they do is they almost vibrate their body, and those scales move, and they actually can lacerate your hands quite quickly. You can see how chipped and broken those scales are, and that's all kind of going to cut you up if you try and pick them up. So normally what happens is people grab them with into bags, and then they take them out of the reserves illegally, and then from there normally they are boiled whole like this, and then the scales are pulled off and used. So it's a bit of a problem, and like I said, they are the most trafficked animal in the world currently, which is pretty scary. So it's a horrible thing to think that we've got animals out here that are being poached at the rate that they are, and tons and tons and tons of pangolin scales are leaving Indonesia and Africa every year. Xavier, you're asking if they're related to armadillos. Well, no, not really. They're not the same species. Armadillo has a kind of softish body in comparison to these guys. So they're in their own little grouping altogether. Now I'm trying to find... Okay, there we go. So I found a photo of it that I can show you guys. I just want to quickly adjust the brightness so that we can actually see, because my phone has decided, because it's dark, that it must have a very low brightness. So we'll just try to get that up. There we go. Okay. So basically this is what these guys look like when they are unraveled. So they're very, very scaly. You can see a long tail. Now that tail needs to be long, one, to balance them, because they walk on their back legs only. You see their front legs are carried forward, almost like a T-Rex, and then this back tail will actually wrap around like we're seeing now to protect this animal. Then if you have a look, I'll try to zoom in onto this one. Sorry, this is not a high-res picture, but we can zoom in a little bit. You can see there on its front feet, very, very big, long claws, tiny little ear, smallish kind of eye, and then a long snout, and that tongue will come out of that snout there, and they'll then pick it up and go back in, which is absolutely amazing. To see one of these is the most special thing in the whole world, and so we are being so spoiled. I know it doesn't look like much, and I know it's just a ball in the grass to some people, but the thing is as a guide, now spending 10 years out in the wildernesses of various parts of Africa, to only have seen 8 or 9 of them in that time gives you an idea of how rare they are. And I spend pretty much all day, every day out in the bush. Even when I'm on leave and not working, I'm in some sort of game reserve somewhere. So it gives you an idea how rare they are. There are certain places where you can go and you'll find them and you'll have a bit more of a success rate. But they are an incredibly special animal, and very few people get the opportunity to see one of these things. It's one of those animals that you kind of wish that you could see and that you get lucky enough to see. Now, there's apparently, where in a reserve that I've worked before, they reckon that with pangolins, that this is how they do. They'll curl up like this if they've been attacked by a predator, and they sit like this. And if you're talking and those kind of things, they stay like that. As soon as if you want them to move, they always say that you start your car. Now, I'm not sure that that's true, because we started our car just now and it didn't move. It just decided to stay curled up. I think it's got the fright of its life, and I would too if I'd had 13 lions on top of me as well at one point. So there was, I think at one point there was 6 of them. But like I say, we had no idea what they were doing. They just looked like they were grooming each other, and couldn't really see what was actually going on. And so I was kind of thinking to myself, they're grooming quite a lot, and then some of them started to leave and others stayed behind, and I thought, no, there's something wrong here, because lions, typically if one goes, then they all start to get up and start to move around, but yet this one a lot of them stayed behind, and so I thought to myself, well, maybe it's something else that they've managed to find, and so we kind of came a little bit closer, and it was a pangolin, which is crazy. Now, Carla, the lifespan for these guys, tricky. They're so understudied, but reckoned to be about 20 years. So anywhere between sort of 18 and 20 years would be about the right lifespan for these guys. But like I say, because they're so shy and so reclusive, there's so little that's really known about pangolins, and there's only a handful of people that have actually studied this particular species of pangolin with any sort of success. And because it's around at night, it makes it even more tricky to find. The one guy that did study them was a guy that worked in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve in South Africa, and where our Djuma base is, and he used to have to go out at night on foot. Now, this guy was crazy. His name is Jonathan Swart, and he's written some really interesting stuff about pangolins, but he used to go out on foot, and he used to track pangolins that he had tagged, and he would walk around at night with a spotlight by himself. Now, you walk around in the bush here, it is not a very pleasant experience, and you got to walk through elephant, leopard, lion, hyenas, just to follow these guys around, and so it makes it incredibly tough. And the problem with them is that they spend a vast majority of their time hanging around. And so Manu's just having a little scan, trying to see if the lions are anywhere near. The vast majority of their time moving under darker conditions, and so they also move in places where vehicles are going to really struggle to go. And so unfortunately, they're one of those species that it's very tricky to actually be able to study, and so that's why there's very little on it. But I actually can't believe that we have seen a pangolin tonight. Like I say, it's not the most riveting in terms of its movements, but to be able to see this is so special. Now, Connor, what is the rarest species of pangolin? Probably, I read an article about this the other day, and because they're so sort of understudied, apparently I think it's the black-bellied. I might be wrong. It's either black-bellied or white-bellied pangolin, one of the two of them. That is the rarest, if I'm correct. I must go and double-check that, though. But this particular one here is not as sort of high up on the list of rarities. They are quite widespread, and there's probably a lot more of these than we even know. It's just when you drive along, not many people are going to spot that in grass like this. We just fortunate that lions played with it. Otherwise, the chances of us seeing this thing would have been almost zero. In the grass, when it's curled up like that, it looks just like a rock, and during the day you would have zero idea that that is a pangolin, unless of course you got close enough that you could see the scales. And so they've easily overlooked, and so actual numbers of pangolin are probably not as well known. Now, here in these environments, we've got grasslands where we can probably spot them a bit easier, but you must remember also in the jungle areas, pangolins can be very tricky to find. So it's an interesting animal in that regard, and I don't think numbers are really as well known as what people say they are. There's certainly a lot that are missing. Right, unfortunately it's still curled up. It's probably still absolutely petrified by the lions, and so we waited and we tried and hoped that it would get up and start moving. If it does start to move, we'll go live again. But from Manu and myself, and a very, very special sighting of a pangolin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys again sometime soon. Well, absolutely ridiculous. Now, I know that a lot of people might think that I'm absolutely mad, that I've gotten so excited about a big ball of scales in a bush that doesn't look like very much. But I can tell you that they are really, really, really quite special. And hopefully, I know a lot of you will, without doubt, be completely blown away that we've gotten one. I know a lot of you have really asked to see pangolins over and over again, and I know we often laugh about it and we say there's no chance. But there we go, and I hope lots of screenshots were taken when the lions were playing with it, because it's a very special thing to see that, and we've been utterly spoilt. Now, this pangolin has a friend. There's a moth that is about the only action that we've seen from this pangolin that keeps bounding around on it, and I'm hoping it is going to unravel. I don't think it's hurt by the lions before anybody thinks that it's dead. I don't think that's the case. I just think that what's happened is it's so kind of been played with so much that it just feels very nervous, and it can probably still hear me talking, and that's why it's like this. And it's just sitting, and it's really kind of feeling as though it's being a bit kind of surrounded by something. And so maybe if we just stop talking for a little bit and sit quietly, you never know, maybe, just maybe, this little creature will actually come out. Right, now, sorry, Emma, you broke up badly. I lost you a little bit there, so if you can just repeat what you said. Right, good. So we're going to send you across to David. We're going to sit quietly in the hope that it starts to move, and if it does move, then we'll come right back. But how special was that? Well, yes, we're still sitting with our pangolin and our riveting moth that is bouncing around, but pangolin still hasn't moved at all. We've been sitting quietly in the hope that it would decide to unravel itself and start moving, but it's locked in tight. I think that thing is going to stay as tightly bound as it can for quite some time. And like I say, imagine if you had 13 lions trying to bite you, you would also probably be in a similar situation. Now, adding to what Sydney was saying is about pangolins. I once spent some time, we had a funeral at one of the camps that I worked at because one of the owners unfortunately passed away, and on the day of the funeral we were talking and chatting about things, and we went out in the afternoon drive and we saw a pangolin. In fact, that photograph I showed during that broadcast just now with the kind of pangolin unraveled that night actually is that same shot. And the guys were telling me, a lot of the local guys, and I don't know, Sydney might be able to confirm this, but that they were saying often when somebody passes away, a pangolin gets seen, and that it is a sign of that person is still there, and it's almost like a message from them, which is very, very interesting because today, funny enough, somebody that I know and a friend of actually Sebastian, that is a guide, was unfortunately killed by an elephant yesterday. And so it makes you wonder. This is the fourth pangolin that I've seen the day after somebody, or day of or after that somebody has passed away, which is a very kind of weird thing in many respects. And I don't really know. It could just be coincidence completely, but this is what the guys tell me and what they believe. And it's, I suppose, one of those things. So, it's a interesting kind of take on things. Now, I'm really hoping that this pangolin decides that it's going to unravel for you guys, and kind of show itself off, and that you can actually see it. And the main reason why I want it to actually move is that you can then listen to it. And listening to a pangolin sounds really odd. It's not that they call or make a noise, but when these guys walk, they have this scraping sound. As these kind of plates shift and move, you can hear the scraping of them together, and it's a really cool sound. It's obviously very unique to them, and it's not something that a lot of people hear, so I'm hoping that they will do that. Now, Lady Bird, you say, well, you were being very kind and saying that that's quite a kind of special thing, and it is. It's a interesting kind of whole story, and like I say, it's obviously always sad when one of the guiding fraternity unfortunately has an incident with a wild animal, and bad things happen. But it's a weird thing that pangolins come out, and like I said, that the time before when it was happened with that kind of funeral and stuff, and the guys was just saying it's almost a sign of that person coming and saying to everybody, it's okay, we're still out and about. So that's what they say. I don't know if anyone else has had that experience, and like I say, Sydney might be able to be kind of somebody that can verify if it's in his culture, because obviously Sydney's culture is slightly different to where we are in the Sabi Sands. So Laura, you say it's giving you chills. Well, I know it's a weird thing. Like I say, it's something that's you obviously don't really kind of give it too much notice when you kind of hear it, but then when they start adding up, it starts to become a weird coincidence in many respects, or to be something that could be, who knows, depending on how you kind of see things. Obviously, like I say, I sit on the fence with these things, but it's just weird how it's happened. 4 of the times that I've seen a pangolin, somebody has kind of passed away within a few days or a day before seeing one. So very weird. But unfortunately, like I say, it's still curled up. I was really hoping that it's going to kind of come out and walk around for you, and we get to see it. But that initial kind of part where we saw it with the lion is just absolutely ridiculous still. To see that lion kind of with its paws on a pangolin is something that is very, very rare to see. And in fact, probably the only place that you see it with any sort of regularity is in Swalu, in the Kalahari Desert. So you see lions often playing with pangolins there. It's a good place to actually see pangolins a little bit more regularly than what we do. Now, I must apologize earlier. I probably was completely out of control when we saw a pangolin, and probably spoke at a million miles an hour and was very excited, but that's the way it is. I'm afraid. I shouldn't even apologize about it, because pangolins are that special. I believe FC was also a flurry, and hopefully you guys at home were also kind of in much excitement and lots of kind of I don't know, nervous energy, I suppose. Not nervous energy, I don't know what the word is. It's excitement is the word, I suppose. That's all there is to it. But it got to be one of the more special things. No way did I ever think that we would see a pangolin tonight. Manu, you must also be quite lucky with pangolins, because Manu actually is the last Safari Live crew member to have seen a pangolin. When did you say it? A month ago? About a month ago. Manu saw a pangolin far from where we are now, so definitely not the same pangolin. Saw it down towards where we saw Kenya the other day. Who saw it? Lucy spotted it. So Lucy, who's our newest crew member, has seen a pangolin before many of the older staff. So, maybe it's Manu that's the luck. But this afternoon has just been one of those kind of very special drives. And it's an interesting thing, because when we left for drive and we were coming down the hill, Manu and I actually weren't supposed to be on drive this afternoon. But James has had to do a lot of work with the trainees during the course of the day. And so we said we'll go out and we'll handle things so he can, have a bit of extra time and get some time with the trainees before he goes on leave. And we were kind of heading out, and I was saying to Manu, I feel like we're going to get an epic sighting, and let's go back to the Olololos. And I'm pretty sure that there might have been a few people that were a bit skeptical of going to lions in a hot afternoon and not much happening. But from the moment we got there, the lions awoke up. We had the storm that came in, that epic views of that. And then to get to this point where we're at right now with the pangolin is pretty ridiculous. And I'm sitting here talking, and it's almost one of those moments where you've got to pinch yourself that on the screen is a little scaly ball called a pangolin, and that it's just sitting there ever so still. Amazing. Now, Emma, you are more than welcome to stay with us. I'm quite happy to talk for 5 more minutes if everybody's happy to listen to me talking for 5 minutes. Hopefully our pangolin will move. What's going to happen is we're going to finish the show, and the pangolin's going to unravel about 30 seconds after the kind of credits roll. So we'll hope that it doesn't, and we hope that this pangolin listens. Now, pangolin, we're talking to you. You have to unravel so that everybody can see you, so that everyone spreads the word about how special you are, and that people stop hunting your kind. Okay? Pangolin's not listening at this stage, but maybe just now. Maybe it just takes a while to sink in past all of those keratin scales. Now, maybe a lot of you are agreeing with me. Look, we'll stick around with it for a little bit after even the show, and if it does decide to wake up, I'm not going to stay forever, but we'll stay for a few minutes after and see if it is going to unravel, and if it does, whether or not we can kind of get a view for you guys so that you can kind of see it. Sea Control, yes, the moths do really like the pangolin. They are best friends. Probably because in some way those moths... There we go, it's moving. Look, guys. Look, it's moving. It's unraveling. Come on. No, back down again. It's getting there. It's slowly starting to wake up. Come on. So if it's moving like that, then everything is okay. Then it's not, like I said, it's not dead. So many of you might have thought it was dead, but let's just give it a chance. It's definitely moved a little bit. That's the first sign of movement we've had since we first spotted it. Now, come on. Maybe it's all the moths, and it's listening to us, hopefully. Now, we will, if we see it starting to kind of move a bit more, then eventually we'll just extend the show a little bit, so don't worry. If there is a sign of movement, we're not going to cut you guys off and leave you there, so hopefully it will unravel, but definite little sign of movement there. Slowly but surely it should open up. Now, Brent says, don't be shy. Is that our Brent, or is this another Brent? It's very confusing. There's two Brents. So I don't know how Brent is doing. Actually, shame. Now, while we're sitting with this pangolin talking about Brent, but I believe it's another Brent. But shame, poor Brenty. I spoke to Jamie yesterday evening just to see how Brenty was doing, because obviously he had an emotional day yesterday morning, and on top of that had that very, very bad infection in his tooth, and apparently was really not doing very well yesterday evening in terms of his face was very swollen and sore, but he had managed to get some antibiotics, and hopefully that will help. But Jamie said that shame, he was struggling a little bit, and I think he was a bit heart sore too. As much as he probably wouldn't have said so, I think, it was a big decision for him to have decided to leave Wild Earth, and not something that he took lightly. Obviously being probably one of, yes, hopefully he can crawl up into a ball and recover, but being one of probably Brent's, I would say, better friends at Safari Live. In fact, the fact that I'm on his groomsman list is, we chatted a lot about his decision before he made it, and whether or not it was the right call, and he was very conflicted about it, even until the last day. So I think he was maybe feeling a little sorry for himself yesterday, but hopefully a speedy recovery. So Brenty, if you are watching, or if you, Jamie, or anybody, then I hope that you're feeling better today, and that your face starts to come right, and that your tooth settles down. The antibiotics he's on will work pretty quickly, so that should be good. Come on, little pangolin. You gave us all hope. Come on. Oh, it's not opening up. Peter? No, we can't tell if it's a Peter or Patricia, unfortunately, yet. If it unravels and it starts to walk, then potentially, and it's very tricky because you've got to see it from the underside, and if it's got little swollen mammaries, then you might see that it's a Patricia, but it's very tricky to tell the sex of a pangolin. Not an easy thing to do, particularly if they roll up and curled in a ball like this. Now, we are coming towards the end of the show, but let's just give it an extra minute or two. We're supposed to kind of finish, I think, in the next sort of 40 seconds or so, but we'll give it an extra 2 or 3 minutes. Let's just give it a bash. You never know, maybe it unravels and we get to see something. One of the probably the nicer pangolin sightings I've had was on a evening very similar to this. A storm had kind of come through and it just passed, and a pangolin kind of emerged, and it actually sat and watched us for a while, and it was almost as if it was kind of tasting the air, and it kept sticking its tongue out directly at us, which was absolutely amazing. And you could see this long tongue, and it would kind of stick it out and then look at us and stick it out, and it sat there for it felt like a long time, but it must have been only about 5 minutes. And it just kept sticking its tongue in and out, and to see the tongue was actually pretty incredible. So hopefully, I'm really hoping that it's going to do something for us. There was at least movement, which means we know that it's not dead, which is a good thing, because obviously those are things that we kind of panic about from time to time, but at least, it's okay. Everybody is relieved, I believe, that we do not have a dead pangolin on our hands. Yes, I think we all are. So Paula, you say, come on little fella, time to wake up and show everybody. I agree, Paula. Come on. It would be so nice if it did, wouldn't it? We've been given so much by nature today. I suppose we can't really be upset if it doesn't, but it would just be the cherry on top if it just emerged with its little face and gave us even a 50-second view of the face and looked at us a little bit and then started to move off. I would be more than happy and would be thoroughly thrilled by it. So, come on, be nice to us. Shame. I think it's being a little bit... Peter, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for being along for the ride, that you got to see your first pangolin, and many, many others, I'm sure, that got to see their first one. It's an absolute pleasure to have you guys. Like I say, it's when I was talking about it earlier today, when we were talking about viewers and you guys participating in this, is what makes this show so special, and why it's such a delight for us as guides to work for something like this. You must remember that most of us, this is completely foreign. Talking to a camera and those kind of things. We're used to talking to people in real life, on the back of vehicles, and being able to interact with people and not just the 6 people or 8 people that are on the back of your car, but the hundreds and thousands that are on the drives, and the fact that community has such a diverse background and so many people with so many interesting little bits to add to it just makes it that much more special. And we're a very small part of this entire kind of community, and you guys are certainly the bulk of it, and which, like I say, it makes it an interesting and special kind of thing to do, and certainly a very, very pleasure to come out here every day and show you guys wildlife through our eyes, which is also a very special thing for us, because we get to see the things we like, and hopefully that rubs off on you guys. Chimwana, you say you've never heard of a pangolin until now, and that's precisely what I was hoping for, is why I would hope to get pangolin sightings, is because there's so little that so many people have no idea what a pangolin is, and when they see a pangolin they always lump it with an armadillo, and it's not an armadillo, it's not in any way the same animal, it doesn't occur in the same places, and it certainly is in a far worse off state than what armadillos are. So when people see it, then they start to ask questions about it, they start to look into it, they start to realize these things, and hopefully that can turn the tide, and we can start to actually protect these animals far better than what we have already, because we are failing this animal rather badly, and it's not great. The good news, no. So whoever told you that it was a cross between a penguin and a lion has got a wicked sense of humor and has sold you down the river, I'm afraid. So it is not at all, and while it may be a mythical creature in many respects because we hardly ever see it, it certainly isn't something that is a cross between anything. Oh, little pangolin. Alright, so Emma, I think we can finish up now, and I'll sit here, I promise I'll sit with it for another 10 minutes or so, and if it does, I'll certainly go back live again, so just pay attention to your notifications, and then we can, because otherwise we might sit here for 3-4 hours, but I will sit with it myself and see if we can send all the other guys home. But anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully the pangolin does move, and we'll see you again just now. If it doesn't, though, what a special evening we've had. We've had all bit of everything today, from getting stuck, Marshmallow Club, to pangolins, to lions, to storms, to all kinds of folklores with Sydney. So from Sydney, David, myself, Emma in Final Control, all the cam-ops, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you all tomorrow morning on the Sunrise Safari. Male or female is almost impossible. They are animals that are really, really tricky to tell male and female apart. You've got to kind of wait for them to unravel and hope that you get lucky with some sort. Oh no, there we go. Back in, it's gone, and it's decided to roll up. So I don't think